Hello everyone, greetings again on this fine Monday. I am doing this pre-recorded today, excuse me, on July 3rd, just in case we might be heading home around my normal time of 6:30 p.m. Central to be live. My youngest has to work tomorrow and he might want to be taking off around that dinner time hour. So just as a precaution, I'm going to do this pre-recorded so that everybody can watch it at their leisure. I hope you're all having a great long weekend if you're able to take one of those. And if not, I hope you got the day off tomorrow to be able to enjoy some nice weather and family time wherever you are celebrating, if you're celebrating, because of course, American holiday. So, all right, let me get started. I'll go through this pretty quick. It's a pretty simple layout. I'm going to show you what I'm using today. My DSP throughout all of my samples is Masterfully Made, and it's from the Masterfully Made Suite collection. This is, I honestly just picked this up recently during the DSP sale, and once I received it, I was like, wow, why didn't I get this right away? These papers are amazing. The color palette is huge. They only list 6 colors in the catalog, but there are an additional 6 colors that are in this paper. So you've got a dozen colors to work with. Holy cow. So Lemon Lime Twist, Pretty Peacock, Lost Lagoon, Azure Afternoon, Berry Burst, Fresh Freesia, Crushed Curry, Lemon Lolly, Melon Mambo, Night of Navy, Pumpkin Pie, and Sweet Sorbet. So if you think about it, that stretches across several of the color families. You have a little bit of Bright, a little bit of Regal, a couple in the Subtles family. Oh my gosh, you guys, this paper, stunning. Let me give you a little show. A lot of these look like they have some torn paper edges and they've been built upon each other. So these are really, really cool. This one would be really nice to cut in half and use as like a part of a scrapbook page, or you immediately have most of your card front done. This one's really cool. Look at all the spread of tiny flowers and colors. Here's again, another one that looks like a torn paper going in almost like a rainbow type pattern. Again, another one with these pretty little flowers, just a little bit of a different color scheme. And then here's those roses again, just all by themselves on the whole sheet. And then the other side are these really cool tone-on-tone ones. So this one's Berry Burst. This one is Pretty Peacock with a little bit of Lost Lagoon in there. Then you have a couple pages with these leaf-like patterns on them. So there's a Fresh Freesia, and there's another Peacock and Lagoon version. And then this one's kind of cool. You have a little bit of that torn paper, but not for the full thing. And then here's another Lemon Lime in the solid color part. So again, this is Masterfully Made, and it's on page 103 of the current catalog. And then for stamp sets tonight for phrases, I'm going to be using a selection. I've got Good Feelings here on page 33. And then on page 50, let me slide over a little bit. There we go. On page 50, I've got Happy Labels. And on 53, Biggest Wish. Okay, that's where my phrases are going to come from tonight for all of my samples. I'm working with a much smaller area than usual, so I will apologize if things are a little shaky or something like that. Hopefully this goes according to plan. Okay, so let's get started. Here's what you needed for tonight. You needed a piece of cardstock that was 5.5 by 8.5 and then scored at 4 1/4. I'm going to be using Berry Burst. A piece of DSP that was 2.5 by 5.5, and we're going to be using it horizontally. So again, I have one of those pieces that had all the flowers across with the middle being kind of like that Lost Lagoon color. A neutral piece that is about 2 by 2.5, and that's where we're going to put our phrase. Our phrase is essentially our focal point today, our biggest focal point, and then we're going to add a few other little things around it. And so I took parts of the DSP and I cut them out. Let me move this up a little bit. I cut them out, and those are going to be a few added elements around my phrase today. Okay, so go ahead. The first part of the assembly is going to be super easy. All you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of cardstock, and again, if you have a large or a darker color and you want something for the inside, sorry about the shaky guys. I know I have a not very sturdy table here. If you have a darker cardstock like this, you're going to want a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of neutral cardstock to be able to stamp and or write on the inside. Then you're going to take your DSP and check out this, guys. I forgot to bring my Stampin' Seal up here with me, and so what I have here at the lake is my old Tombow snail adhesive. Like, when's the last time you heard that sound while we were stamping together? But you know what? You work with what you got, right? Okay, that's gonna go across the center of our card front, like so. All right, then go and go ahead and grab your neutral piece that you're gonna put your phrase on. I am gonna be taking mine from Biggest Wish. I have a large happy and a scripty birthday. I'm gonna do my happy in Berry Burst. And it is probably gonna be a little shaky because my table is wobbly because I'm just using a little tray table. So, but I'm gonna do it as carefully as I can. And it might be a little bit off camera because I gotta make sure I'm centered here. Okay, let's try that. Excellent. And I am using my piercing mat because I have a photopolymer stamp and not a very great stable base underneath it. So I have something to give that little extra squish so that I get a nice full image. Now you'll see to save some space with my blocks, I mounted them on opposite sides so I can just use both phrases on the same block, being careful not to stick my fingers. Nope, look, I did that. Sticking my fingers in the ink that's already on there. So I'm using Pretty Peacock for the word birthday. And I'm gonna put it on kind of a little bit of an angle. It's kind of a fun scripty font. So there we go, there we have my birthday. Set that carefully down again so I don't get ink everywhere. Okay, you can decide at this point if you want to raise this phrase up with any dimensionals or anything. I will show you everything flat to the page. And then as you see some of my other samples, you can see where you might have opportunity to embellish that a little bit. All right, our phrase is just gonna go in the middle of our DSP. And now you're gonna take your focal points. And you can see I cut a few of mine from the edges of the DSP. So I'm gonna run just a tiny bit of adhesive along the edge of that one and kind of tuck it behind. Whoops, I dropped it first. Let me. Snail Snibbles. When's the last time you saw Snail Snibbles? I'm gonna tuck it up and behind my phrase there. And this one, I'm gonna do something very similar. Let me just get a little adhesive on the edge of that. I'm gonna go ahead and tuck that behind this side. There we go. So you're basically gonna make, since we have 3 elements, you're gonna make sort of that visual triangle situation. Now these guys are a little smaller, and so I'm gonna put them in to cover up some of that white space I have over in that corner. And I limit these to be layered so that they kind of make a full flower. Oop, let me see if I can get that turned the other way a little bit. Like that maybe? So one of them's gonna kind of be on top of each other, but it's gonna make the look of a whole flower. All right, so basically guys, that's it. That's all I have for putting this card together. So hopefully you have some great elements that you've either stamped and cut or stamped and punched or fussy cut like I did directly out of your designer series paper or something like that. So let me go ahead and show you some other samples. Again, all the papers are from Masterfully Made, and I'm using all the color palette that's in there that's available for what I had. So here is a fresh freesia version. And I took, I believe it is the Dainty Delights dies, and I ran them through, you get these all 4 in one die. So I ran them through in both the freesia and the Berry Burst. And then I kind of had a color palette of things to play with there. So I set several of them up in each of these corners and then just added a little one over here. And that thank, of course, comes from the Good Feelings. You can see that right there. And then those little plus or X's actually come in the Biggest Wish. So I used a little bit of a combination on that one just to fill in some of that empty space, empty white space that was in there. All right, and here's a version that is Azure, Afternoon, and Night of Navy. On this one, I moved my DSP up a little bit because I had this really large element that I wanted to have in there as well. And then I used my Dragonfly Punch. So I have one in navy, one in azure, and some couple in little blue. I added a layer of navy behind the white panel, and I bumped these guys up on dimensionals a little bit. Oh, and I also used on this guy, I don't remember which one is which. It's either the 3-pack or the 4-pack of gems. All right, then here's another version. Similar to this, Happy Birthday, but just the opposite. I used the Scripty Birthday, or the Scripty Happy, and the Solid Birthday. And that is in Tahitian Tide and Azure Afternoon. And I know Tahitian Tide wasn't one of the colors, but it does blend nicely in with these bright turquoisey colors. So I have just a little bit of a difference in, I want to have a little difference in color in that one. And rather than just try to stamp one of them off, I use that. I used my Petal Park Builder Punch to create these flowers. So I have larger ones punched out in white, smaller ones done in azure and crushed curry. There we go. And I used Pretty Peacock as my leaves actually. So kind of a different shade of green to go in there. But again, that's all in this color palette that we have working with this particular cardstock. And I like the fact that I use white in the background here. Really makes all those other colors kind of like pop and show off really nicely. Now in this last one, I changed the orientation up a little bit. So still the same specs. My DSP just runs up and down instead because this is an all over pattern. It could kind of go both ways. If it had been this way, you can see I really moved it up and I used my phrase off to the side a little bit. But this is Lost Lagoon and Pretty Peacock. I used the bow punch to punch a couple of elements out, and I used the variations of the word thanks there in both the Lost Lagoon and the Pretty Peacock to highlight those guys right there. Okay, so let me bring up each of them a little bit individually so you can see a little closer. And then I will show you the stepped up version of the one I just did on camera. Excuse me. It's a little dry up here in my bonus room, so I forgot to bring my water up with me. Alrighty, here is the one we just did on camera. And here is my stepped up version. So basically what I've done here, I've added a layer behind the DSP. So there's some strips of Pretty Peacock there. I went for the bigger flowers off of the DSP, the one that's all flowers on that whole sheet. And I added a little bit of a oval pearl to the center of one of my flowers. And these are all, except for this one which is tucked behind, these guys are all raised up on dimensionals. All right, everybody, there are our samples for tonight. Let me see if I can get them all in on camera. I have a much smaller surface that I'm working with here. I might get cut off a little bit, but I think you'll get the gist of most of them. And then I'll throw that guy on there for a second. There you go. Okay, everybody, that is it for today. And please enjoy your holiday weekend if that is what you are able to do. And I will see you guys again next Monday night. Bye now.